to Live Special Daily Talk Show. And of course, super excited today. Of course, we get to join of course, on the program, we get to be joined by the president of NDC. Of course, that is Madam Saboi, Imboela. Of course, as we chat on the role of opposition government, especially as we move forward, as we forge ahead as a country. Welcome to Live Special program.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. It's great to be here.
We're super excited to have you. I know, Mr. Derek. You're a familiar face like always. I don't have to actually.
Thank you so much. Yeah. And, welcome viewers to the program.
Yeah. So if you want to participate via texting, you can actually get the number that's shown on your screen. That's 0978-639512, and then get to send your contribution in regards to the topic that we have today. That is the role of opposition government as far as democracy is concerned. As we kickstart the conversation, I think many Zambians that are watching us, they would want to know, how is NDC?
Well, NDC is very okay. You know, it could be better, but we are fine. You know, after elections, we thought we'd be resting, but a lot of work even now to be done.
Great. Now, of course, just to kickstart the conversation, there's an issue that we want to dive into, and that's the role of the opposition government. Now, I know NDC has had quite a number of issues, and I hope when I asked, I asked with an intention, of course, why? Because we wanted to understand that commotion that used to happen in NDC. Is it settled? Is the party now organized? Are they ready now to offer checks and balances, unlike having the wrangle within the party?
Well, the party has always been organized, you know, despite the wrangles, you know, and I can say that those people have not yet gone. They are still there, you know, but thank God, you know, nature's got a way of handling issues. You know, those are people that supported the current ruling party, and they had certain expectations which have not been met, you know, and they've gone quiet. You know, they do talk here and there when they want to cause a disturbance, they do that. You know, because I think even before I would say that what they were creating was a media circus. You know, it was nothing more than a media circus, because everything would do, they would go to the media and say all sorts of things. But on the ground, in terms of the party, we're just going on ignoring them. You know.
Now, I know this conversation has always been on the table to say that the issue of in politics, women coming on board and the challenges that are there for women candidates, of course. Is it real since you are there now? Are those challenges that they make mention of, are they real? And how are you handling them as a female leader?
Well, certainly they're there. And I think even worse, you know, the challenges are definitely there. And I think leadership, sadly, in this country, it has always been male-dominated. You know, so you find that even when the women go for elections, for example, they would be more comfortable voting for a fellow man than their own woman. You know that from the time Zambia got independent, we've had more women voters than the men. You know, so in terms of voting, almost every election year, we have more women. So the day the women will say that we want a woman, for example, that's the day Zambia will have a woman president, for example. You know, but you find that the women themselves, the men themselves, they look at politics and leadership as a male kind of thing. You know, that goes also with the way our culture and traditions are, and also our religion. So with that, it has come to our politics. You know, so we have to really change the mindset of the Zambians to show them that really a man and a woman can do what they can do. You know, and it's so funny, you know, most of our traditional leaders now are men, but way back they're actually women. You know, it may interest you to know that even the first Lutunga of the Lozi people was actually a woman, you know. But you don't even hear that from the history books. You need to research further for you to find that out. You know, so the first Lutunga and the 16th Lutunga were women. You know, but right now for you to even suggest that a woman should be a Lutunga, I think they will laugh at you. They'll think that you're mad. You know, most of these are chiefdoms around as well. You find that at the time they started, the women were the leaders. But later on, the men took over. And when they took over, they never wanted to give that power away. You get the point, yeah. So even now, trust me, the women are there. The women are capable of doing what the men can do. It's just the support that they need, number one, from their fellow women, and then two, from everybody else.
I'm going to toss the coin to Mr. Pastor Daka.
Now, as you have spoken about the role of the woman in the society, now, Madam Saboi, there is one of the things that I would like to ask you, and this is very important to our viewers. How do you handle rumors around your political life, and then also the humiliations that you always get on social media, the bullying and everything. How do you handle it?
For me, I always say one thing. I always say that I am lucky that before my political career, I had a music career.
Yeah.
So I already knew how to handle the public. I already knew how to handle bullies. But let me say that they're worse in politics. They're so worse in politics because sadly, politics is a career whereby anybody thinks they can be everybody or somebody. You get the point? It's unlike your professions, for example.
Yeah.
When I'm a journalist, when I'm maybe a cameraman or whatever, I need to have this profession for me to be able to operate this camera. You get the point? I need to have this kind of qualification for me to carry on these interviews. But for politics, you find that anybody thinks they can be anybody. You get the point?
Yeah.
So with that comes a lot of criticisms from all corners. With that comes a lot of sometimes I can even say jealousy. So it's very, very hard to handle.
So to cut you short, and then you continue. You're on record threatening to take someone to court for bullying you. Is that leadership?
Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay.
And by the way, let me tell you this. With that, we are working together with the Zambia National Women's Lobby. I'm sure you know that the Zambia National Women's Lobby has this initiative called Women in Politics, a platform of which I'm the chairperson. So they did carry out a survey on 10 women leaders in the country. Among them was the former Vice President, Mrs. Inonge Wina, the current Vice President, Mrs. Mtarina Lumango, Shalakateka, myself, Iris Kaingu, and Professor Kaduluo, and the 4 others, The research was the cyberbullying of women politicians, and what they discovered was horrible, So we had a workshop at Cresta Golfi Hotel, and they shared with us the report, of that survey, and they even shared some of the things that people say against us as women politicians. It's really bad, So they are the ones that even came up with this initiative to say we need to take it up and report the bullies. You get the point? And me being the chairperson of the platform, I think I should lead by example. Because because Zambians are scared. Let me even finish this point. Zambians are scared of litigation, right? You don't want to go to court, you don't want to take your bullies on and everything. But the women's lobby have gone as far as engaging lawyers, engaging the police, ZICTA, even councillors, to ensure that women politicians are helped. So if you've got these people that have come up to help us, why shouldn't we, the victims, come up and simply report?
But if they are possible cadres for you, they bully you and they are possible cadres to vote for you.
We need to bring some sanity to the politics. This thing of as long as somebody will vote for you, somebody can be your member, and then they can do anything. No, we need to bring that one in. Yeah, and for me, by the way, the time they're even bullying and everything, people are even telling me, no, it's good as long as they're coming to your page and they're making your page popular and everything. At the time, people were liking my page, between 500 to 1,000. I was having between 500 to 1,000 likes per day. So people were just coming to my page, just come and insult. So they'll be out there, maybe it's a UPND page, they just say, go to Saboi's page and they respond to this. You get the point? So they come to my page strictly to come and insult. So you can't have that. If people are going to like my page, they should come there for what I say. Not strictly coming there to come and insult or have all these negative comments. So that.
Now, just a quick one, sorry. I understand democracy, of course. It's also a platform that can allow opinion from different people to come in. Of course, opinion sometimes might hurt the person in focus. Exactly. Now, in politics, it's a different scenario because you as a leader, sometimes it has become a normal notion that you can observe a lot of negativity from individuals. Now, I'm looking at the cyberbullying aspect and the impact it gets to have, because we are human, and the way we receive certain negative messages, it affects even our well-being.
Very true.
But you as a woman as well, which has been a challenge, and it's good that you have come up in that way and how you have handled it. But in terms of also accepting to say that, okay, you are in the public domain and you are a leader and this is normal for you to accept, people will see you in a different version. How do you still give room for people to give you critiques? Because I believe also critiques can do it. And I look at you now, because I'm looking at Chimbaka Mbuli, who was the party for NDC, and now, because of the negativity, it could have played a role to make you, and for you to be where you are now.
Exactly. Yes. I think for me, I just say that there's just a limit, to everything. And the way that people started saying, I think it was too much. I was giving examples to say, even with the previous government, the PF, we did have these cyber bullies and people being negative, and which politics by nature, it's about criticism and having different views. But there's a way they would do it, and even certain insults, they would have to come to an inbox to say them. But the current cadres that we have now, from the ruling party currently, they say the worst things ever. They insult right there on the page. So that's not politics, you know. As a woman leader, more than being a leader myself, I want to mentor young girls out there. You know, I want to encourage women out there to be politicians as well, to be leaders for this country, because we need that. But if you're going to come to my page and see the kind of horrific comments that come from these people, no one can join. No woman can join politics if they see the kind of humiliation, the kind of bullying that we go through. So with that, it had to come to an end. And I'll be honest with you, I said earlier on that I was having about 500, 1,000 likes per day. It was good for the page. And people were like, no, the page is growing and everything. Within a month, I had over 40,000 likes, you know, people coming to the page and everything. But that's not okay. It's not about the likes. For me, I said, I would rather not have the likes. I would rather have a few. I would rather have quantity than quality. Or rather quality than quantity, you know. Why have so many people on the page that just said to insult? So when somebody reads the comments, they can't be inspired to be a politician. So I had to put my foot down on that.
But even the so-called politicians that are in this particular sector, we see them coming out negative on their fellow politicians. Don't you think that also has contributed in terms of making sure that the followers also are programmed and the narrative still remains the same in terms of giving bad feedback, especially to politicians?
Okay, yeah, you're certainly right about that. You are right about that. And for me, the negative feedback and everything is okay if people really believe what they're saying. It's a word that people use, okay? It's a word, blunted insults, you get the point. And some people, for example, the people that I didn't mention on the page that I was going to take, in fact, I did report to force headquarters. They did come in my inbox and apologize. So that is why even some of them saw that I didn't take the matter further, because I did at least hear their apologies, you know. I was asking some of them, how old are you? 25. I was like, do you know that you're just a few years older than my firstborn child? You know, so where you are right now, I can call you my son. What gives you the courage to talk to a woman like that? Somebody who's almost as old as your own mother. You get the point. So it's the words that they were using. No, I'm sorry and everything. So I was giving them one condition. Go on your page and make a public apology and say things against cyberbullying of women. And say from now on to be respecting women. And they were doing that. Once they did that, they got a screenshot, sent it to me. That's how I was forgiving them. So that they learned something.
Yeah.
Get the point. Yeah. So they learn something, because some of them, for example, they would say, no, as long as you you don't stop talking about Bali, we insult you. I'm a politician, you get the point. My role is to provide checks and balances.
And it's good that you've mentioned that.
You know, so
in fact, that was a warm-up for our conversation.
Okay.
Now that you've raised the word Bali, this is where now we are sticking our conversation. As an opposition political party, what is your commentary on what is happening? Because now the president is almost going to 3 months in office. What have been your observation, and what are you doing as an opposition to make sure that he is on toes and making sure that he delivers what he promised to the Zambian people?
Well, first and foremost, he's been talking a lot. You know, he's been talking a lot. We do love feedback. We do love a president that communicates, but not who communicates things that he will do all the time. So, I like things that he has done. You know. When they won the elections as UPND, they did have the time, of course, at the inauguration. They did have the time at a few interviews here and there, you know. So right now we're expecting things to be done, which they told us, you know. So coming all the time to come and tell us what they've done, first and foremost, I think I should come to an end. By the time they're coming to tell us something, they should give us a report of what they've done. And for me, what is a report? The report, maybe when they formed governments, they did control the issue of cadres briefly and better than what the PF did. But the issue of cadres is still there. You know, the issue of cadres is still there. And I think I've been consistent when saying that the issue of cadres is not so much about a cadre or political issue. It's an employment issue. You know, so the UPND has to provide alternative, you know, businesses for those young people. You know, and one day I've seen that there's so much discontent right now amongst the UPND cadres. You know, there's so much talk. You know, we've seen so many videos coming out where the cadres are complaining, where they're saying, Bali, the time we were campaigning, you never said you wanted people with papers. You told us that go out there and campaign, and then this and this and that will change. From the time that you won, you've been very you've been very consistent on meritocracy and making sure that you get people with papers. What about us?
What have you what have you learned from especially what you have read, which is very important? What have you learned as an opposition government, especially when it comes to certain pronouncement as a party?
Okay, I think as a party, one thing we're learning from the UPN is that you have to be careful what you say. Don't give promises that you can't keep. You know, I know they say that, no, that's politics, say whatever it is you want to say just for the sake of getting power. You know, but you don't want to be, a one-term president, because if the UPND, for example, won't be careful, that is exactly what they're going to be. They're going to be a one-term government. They overpromised, and right now you saw that immediately they won. They were actually talking against the same things that they mentioned earlier on. I'll give you number one, the issue of free education. They did say, consistently so, that they're going to have a free education from grade 1 all the way to university. From the BBC interview, the president changed to grade 1. Exactly, yes. Then he changed to say grade 1 to grade 12. And now they said something like...
education for all.
Education for all. You get the point. Zambia already does have a policy about education for all. The education for all policy talks about not allowing any child to walk more than 5 kilometers to school, And sadly, we have children in rural places that have to go 50 kilometers, 100 kilometers to the nearest school. So with that policy already, the UPND just has to build more schools, especially boarding schools in rural places.
But now, to cut you short, the PF government built schools, and they actually they wrote to say we have delivered, and they did deliver, and they said they have built more than 300 schools, and so when you need the PF, the UPND to build schools, where and how are they going to build when they are already schools built?
No, they're not enough. They're not enough. They need to keep on building a lot more schools. I work a lot in rural places of this country, and trust me, the school situation in this country is still a crisis. So the current government has to put in more money still. They have to put in more money to build schools. And for me, especially boarding schools. Because we do have this problem of teenage pregnancies and marriages. Yeah. It's because of the lack of schools. So I find that the few schools which are there in the rural places, children have to walk long distances, and because they're failing to go back, there's this advent of the so-called weekly boarding houses. So the children are living on their own, from Monday to Friday they're on their own in a small hut. I find like there are 10, 15 girls in there, The nearby there'll be maybe a miner, or a journalist, or whoever who has a bit of, has a bit of money or a lot of money, and then the girls are falling prey to that,
Speaking about school, and I always say that politicians have got a very key, important role, especially on the opposition side, because as you, of course, condemn certain acts, you also provide solutions. So this is where we're going to chip in a bit. In terms of that problem being there, what are some of the alternatives that NDC has in terms of policy to make sure that the education sector does cater for everybody?
Okay, in fact, what I'm talking about building more schools, and especially boarding schools, is actually there in the NDC manifesto. That's what we believe in. We need to have a lot of schools. And Zambia also does have the early education policy already, where children right now are not supposed to start school at 5 years old. They are supposed to start at 3 years old, but the infrastructure is not there. So the government went on and told schools to say have an annex where children can start learning from the age of 3. But this is, let's say, in Shangombo, the nearest school is 50 kilometers away. So if the people who are in grade, let's say 5, 15, 16-year-olds in the rural setups, if they're failing to walk that distance, do you think a 3-year-old child is going to walk that distance? No, they won't. So we need to ensure that we build more infrastructure in terms of the early learning centers and the actual schools, in as many places as possible. Because the time we're going to really invest in schools in this country and hospitals, they would have gone halfway in terms of our development.
This is what we ask most of our political candidates that we usually have here, and we also want to make it a trend. The unit government, they were known for education and mining.
Oh yeah.
The MMD for privatization, and then you had the PF for infrastructure development. The UPND, what's your viewpoint in the UPND, what they'll be known for, and what will you be known for?
Okay, the UPND, if I'm reading them correctly, they'll be known for something which should be good in the long run, but they need to handle it properly, because again, it can be both their success and their downfall. The issue of meritocracy is very, very important, because there's a reason why somebody wakes up at 05 in the morning, goes to school, and they read the whole day and they get that paper. You get the point? There's a reason for that. I think the PF destroyed the country a little bit by doing certain things. It was like as long as you've got a connection, you can be anything. Somebody who's got a connection can, let's say, go work for Zesco, any position. They can go to RAS. If you go to most of these parastatals, you find that people that are not supposed to have those jobs.
You're reaching this stage. Sorry, you're reaching this stage. Were you ever connected to reach where you are, or this was hard work and dedication and persistence?
Oh, certainly hard work and persistence. Certainly hard work.
Okay.
Certainly, yes. So what I was trying to explain is this. With the PF, I think one of the things that they did wrong, you judge whether it's wrong or right, is that, okay, let me say it's wrong. Let me put my voice that it is wrong. That there are people in some of these parastatals who are not supposed to be there. Because somebody helped you win an election doesn't mean that you have to give them a job they don't deserve. You know, going to the embassies right now, you find that some ambassadors and people who are employed at the embassies are not qualified to work there. You know, so with the UPND, if you really are going to say do what they're saying, the issue of meritocracy has to come in. If I have a degree, okay, and I'm supposed to work in a certain office, my degree should speak for me, not my connection, okay? If I have a diploma, if I have a certificate in a certain field, that certificate, that diploma should speak for me. You get the point. So with that, I see the UPND making a mark, so they'll be known for meritocracy, okay? However, their meritocracy, again, is not the real kind of meritocracy which you saw Aristotle and them talking about 600 years ago. UPND cannot really have a natural meritocracy. They can only have an artificial one because they've been in opposition for 23 years. So at the end of the day, they do have their own people who they need to please. So whether we like it or not, they want to go the meritocracy direction, but there is a way they're going to put their cadres there, okay? We just celebrated Independence Day 3 days ago, and people were saying, oh, there were no cadres at State House.
And I wanted to ask
Exactly.
you what some key
And
takeaways from that
yes,
celebration.
yes, and people were very happy about that. Yes, people are very happy, but what are the cadres feeling? You know? So the cadres, so now I'm saying it will be one, it will be their success as well as their downfall. Because the people that put politicians in these places, whether they like it or not, are the same cadres. You know? Those people you see at State House eating that cake are never there in the field. When there's battles to be done in politics, when there's a campaign to be done in the politics, it's those same people at the bottom of the hierarchy.
So what should be done, before Pastor Derek comes in, what should be done to those people at the bottom? Because we know for a fact that some of them, maybe the majority, don't have qualification for the jobs that are that they might want, for example.
Yes.
So what should be done now to make sure that they cut that gap that is between creating that problem that we that we might find challenge in terms of solving, for example, and also looking at opportunities that we can capitalize on in making sure that we have a human resource. But again, how can we make that human resource become more viable and sustainable towards what we want to achieve?
Okay, first and foremost, I need to expand, you know, the kind of employment, you know, they need to expand the workforce that the government right now currently has, you know, and they need to also formalize certain jobs, okay? I'll give an example of, let's say, a town center, intercity, all these are bus stations. The collection of taxes, you know, revenues, all those things, yes. Somebody has to do it, you know, somebody has to do it, and some of the cadres do have the experience, you know. So those people can actually be employed by the council, and then they collect taxes on behalf of the council, and then they are paid every month, you know. The issues to do with, let's say, construction, we have seen that right now, the construction works have actually stalled, you know. They have stalled, or let me just say they have stopped. And we had a lot of people that were on construction sites. Where are they? You get the point? So if we're not careful, apart from the fact that these people will be disgruntled and they'll be complaining, and some of them will engage in acts of theft, and they've already started doing that. People will tell you that in the compounds right now, theft has gone up. So the UPND has to create alternative kinds of employment, you know. The issues of also farming. In this country, I don't know why we don't respect farming so much. Yeah. You find that the rich people, on their own, they respect farming. Most of these politicians, by the way, are farmers. I don't know why they don't also do that in terms of the politics.
And you know? Speaking about farming, one of the things that I did find out when I was doing my bit of research is that also we have now a situation at hand, which is climate change. And now agriculture is considered as the main contributor to climate change, by the way. So now I was looking at the new Ministry of Green Economy and Environment, as well as Agriculture. How do you think they will be able to handle this pressure? Because in as much as we want to diversify our economy, it means that we'll be doing a lot of agriculture, meaning that there'll be a lot of cutting down of trees, and much of the carbon dioxide will be going into our atmosphere, causing global warming. So what do you think should be the approach with this?
Well, first and foremost, we don't even have to destroy so much of our environment by engaging in agriculture. We need to do a lot of conservation farming. Let's teach our people conservation farming. You know, also the reduction of usage of fertilizers and stuff like that for certain crops. You know, that can be done. You know, the issue of cutting down trees everywhere, no, I think that is a bad way of doing it. And I've seen a lot of projects when it comes to conservation farming and NGOs, for example, teaching our people there in terms of how they can, let's say, do the crop rotation, how they can use even grass, whatever it is they're cutting from their fields, how they use that now as manure and stuff like that. Also getting animal manure, if they do have chickens, they do have pigs and everything, they use that for their farm produce and like them using fertilizer all the time. So that people can be taught, you know, and we do have professionals that can come in also and they do that. And for me also, like I said, most of these politicians are farmers. Most of these politicians, they know, including the president himself. I am a farmer myself.
I wanted
yes,
to
I am.
example,
I am
most of these
actually.
politicians.
Yes, I am. And I do keep pigs, you know, and a bit of chickens, you know, and then just a bit of farming here and there. You know, so you find that if we're able to teach people, you know, and also employ people. There's this farming block in Mkushi, this government one, I've just forgotten the name. If you get people, let's say, on large farms, you know, they are working, because, again, Zambians have salaries. Let them work on those farms, they have their salary, then you have so much mass production and they're exporting, you know. I always say again that agriculture is a new gold. If you look at Zambia, agriculture is a new gold. No wonder you see that most times they even have to close the border. We don't ever have to close the border in this country. When we have to sell maize to, let's say, Zimbabwe, Botswana, and the Congo, we don't need to close the borders. We do have enough water and land, you know, to ensure that people continue to do agriculture, and when it's time to sell, we're able to sell and export to these people so that we get even the forex that we deserve.
Great.
You know?
Pastor Zaka, you can come through.
All right. Thank you so much, Madam President. There's a quote which says, "Everybody wants a job or empowerment as they were promised. Papers or not, they want Bali to make a plan as he had promised." And that's your quote
Yes.
from your post 2 days ago.
Yes, yes.
Right. So some cadres or supporters, sympathizers took it as a shoot again on Bali.
Okay.
And there you come again. So now, what should Bali do? Because he promised a lot of people, and there are women were caught on camera singing, showing their discomfort about whatever Bali promised. So what should Bali do for now?
Well, he needs to keep his promise, you
Okay.
know. I saw one person actually comment on Facebook to say that it's not that we're over-expectant, it's just that we're over-promised.
Okay.
You know? Yes. So they made those promises. You know, with the politics, you have a social contract with the people. You may not sign it, but it's there. It's written down, you know, in everything that you say. So Bali promised people those, and they went and voted. You know, I have a lot of calls from university students, especially CBU, where they've been saying, they may not give us free education now, but can they please cut the fees in half? If now until they give us free education, we can be able to pay half of our school fees, we'll be very, very happy.
But
You know?
is
So
it
people-
possible for free education to be given?
Oh yes, it is possible. It is possible. And I'll tell you one thing. For me, when I even joined politics many years ago, I joined the UPND, and the number one thing I joined it for was the issue of free education. They've always been very consistent on that. UPND has always said, we're going to give free education, you know, to the country. And I believed it. You know, and by the way, MDC also has that in its manifesto, you know. But for MDC, from the manifesto, already qualified to say free education to the vulnerable people, those that can't afford.
Okay.
You know, so right now that's when the UPND are trying to qualify it. But for them in their manifesto, it was different. It was just free education.
They said free education.
That's all.
And now
know? Yeah.
you are part of the UPND. Now, how is your experience? You know, from a member of a political party that has formed government now, and you are also now opposition leader. Then you are aspiring as a member of parliament, and stories were circulating on social media that you were frustrated, and that is why you left the UPND to clear to clear the story.
No, people always speculate. You know, the people who have never talked to you, who don't know you, they just see something just from afar, and they will talk. I think you may have read what I wrote about Chipo Mwanawasa, for example. Chipo Mwanawasa was appointed or maybe not appointed, according to now all these things which are coming out, as the special assistant and all those things, and saw the attacks that she had.
Yeah.
You know, people asking, where is she coming from? She's been appointed because of her name and everything. They just don't know her. No wonder at the end, I don't want to get involved, but in the end, I had to write what I wrote. You know, those are people that we worked very hard for in the UPND. I've seen them even criticize people like Bradford Manchila, who is now at State House. I think he's a private secretary for the president, and Dr. Mwananyanda. When I was in the UPND, I worked very hard with those people. So I'm shocked now to see on Facebook, people don't know them, and they're accusing Bali of getting people from wherever. They don't know them, and they're coming from nowhere. Those are people that were working in the UPND. Okay. So people on social media and other places, they don't even understand how
No, to cut you short, the way you're talking, I'm looking at this person. Do you have are you in alliance with the UPND? Or maybe a partnership with
Certainly
the
not.
UPND?
No, certainly not.
But you sound to be an advocate of the UPND.
No, I'm not an advocate of the UPND. For me, like I've mentioned just 3-4 names.
Or maybe you're trying to
example.
change the way you do politics in Zambia. Because then we would see punches going straight to the president. But now it seems there is, or maybe you're looking for a job in the UPND.
Definitely not. You know, I'm actually even very shocked that you're saying that, because I'm sure you see that even my same post on social media, the UPND card has attacked me so much.
Yeah.
And to them, they say I am bitter, I am frustrated, I am whatever. You know, I just don't like their party, I don't like Bali, I don't like, they accuse me of that. So for you to even say I'm advocating for the UPND, I hope their cadres are watching.
Maybe the following question would be, would you jump on an alliance if they approach you to form an alliance with them?
No, certainly not. Certainly not. Because even now, do you know that they have actually tried to do that?
And we have seen MMD,
they have tried,
just as you answer,
yeah.
we have seen MMD. Of course, have talks with them because they say their values and direction as a party is enshrined in the same way that the UPND values and principles are. So they would want to work with them. Is that something that we're seeing from NDC?
To be honest with you, you know, a government needs checks and balances. You know, in Zambia, I've seen that there's always that fear of working in the opposition. People are scared of to be the opposition. We need to change our politics. And I've been giving examples to say in other countries, like UK, you know, they actually pay opposition leaders to be in the opposition, you know, because your checks and balances are important for democracy. Rwanda, I saw also that their interpretation or their in Zambia we have ZCID, right? So their version of ZCID is highly funded by the government. So when you're going to fund that, it's more like you're funding the opposition in other ways, you know. So for me, it's not about everybody being in the ruling party. Because if I wanted to be in the ruling party, I'd be the ruling party right now. Even in the PF, I would have joined the PF, you know. But those opportunities have always come up, but I have never accepted. Even now, by the way, when Bali won, I'm sure you saw that there was a group of NDC that were supporting Bali, and some of us had endorsed the PF at the time. And the people that endorsed, who, in fact, them were in an alliance with Bali, they started calling us to reconcile with them, you know. And I told our party members to say, these people supported a party that won. We endorsed a party that lost. Why is it that it's them that are desperate that we reconcile and be part of this so-called alliance, which is with the UPND? If any one of you is going to give me that answer, then we're going to have an alliance.
What's your thoughts? So, we're going to take a short break. And of course, if you want to join in the conversation, do send us a text message via the number showing on your screen. That's 0978639512. Or if you have a question for the president, you can definitely send that and we'll definitely get to engage with you. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, of course, we dive into the insight of what we're trying to talk about. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Ndanji Fashions, stockheads of high quality gear. Ndanji Fashions is a fashion store like no other. At Ndanji Fashions, we provide the best clothing with a keen eye to latest fashion trends. We offer an assortment of men's suits, ladies' suits, men's shirts,
ladies' tops,
jeans, men's shoes, ladies' shoes, belts, neckties, undergarments, and many more. We are situated at Kids Shopping Mall in Lusaka. Contact us on 0975 75 5332 or 0211 256767/8. You can also visit our Facebook at Ndanji Fashions. Ndanji Fashions, stockheads of high quality gear.
Welcome back. If you have just joined us, you're watching Life's special daily talk show, of course. And if you want to engage with us, do send us a text message via the number shown on your screen. And of course, you can still follow us on our Facebook page just to get to engage with us. And it's particularly in regards to the conversation, the topic that we're having conversation on. We are privileged to be joined by NDC President Saboi, Imboela, of course, as we are chatting about the role of opposition government as far as democracy is concerned. Now, moving forward, as we continue with our conversation, the appointments, some section of society, they're complaining to say that these appointments, they're always with people who are well-to-do. Why is it that the time will not come for us to be appointed? How do you view this as a politician?
Well, I've seen that. You know, the same people, you know, for me, sometimes I laugh at cadres, especially the cadres who spend all their time on Facebook. My biggest criticism of the UPND, personally, I've always said UPND is an elitist party, it's a sexist party, and it's corrupt. I've always said that, you know. So for them now to come out and start saying, no, he's leaving us out. Yes, he's leaving out because it's elitist. As simple as that, you know. But for me, again, let me not play politics on that. Some of the people that he has appointed who seem to be elite, they've been hardworking. That is why I gave an example of people like Bradford Manchel, I gave an example of Dr. Mananya, and I gave an example of Chipo. Those three, I know them personally from the UPND.
Speaking about Chipo,
you know?
many people confuse such appointment, especially when you are related to somebody who has served in government before. They think that those are connections that they just use to get into those positions. Maybe just to clear, why is it sometimes that we usually have this situation? Of course, the former president, Monawasa, of course, the daughter, there was appointed, and actually they created a sector, a position for her, which has not been done before. Of course, many people are criticized and say they're even creating jobs for them. Why can't they give them jobs that already existed? This is what Zambian people are baffled about. So
exactly.
Now, what's the direct? How do you see this as an opposition party?
For me, as an opposition party, the worry is that the same cadres, when Bali and UPND won, they didn't want to be criticized. We were bringing out some of these things, and they were saying, no, Bali, whatever he does, we're okay with it. Whatever he does, so they should let him. You know, whatever he's doing, it's okay. Let him appoint the people that he's appointing right now. Some of us are okay with it now. The same way they were okay with him doing whatever it is he wanted, so let him do what he's doing right now. You know, let him appoint these people that he's appointing. But most importantly, like I said earlier on, a meritocracy in a situation whereby you've been in opposition for 20 years, a natural one is not possible. Because there have been people that have been there with you. There are people that have suffered for the party. There are people that have worked for certain things. So there are people that he has known. So other people may be talking about all these things, but they're too far away from the powers that be. They're too far away from the corridors of power. Join a political party, you know, join a political party. So when you are there, find yourself in the structures. Then only there, when you're not given certain positions, can you complain and say, I did A, B, C, D, but still certain things did not work out. But for the cadres right now, let me just say for the young people right now, they want to be on social media.
Young people,
and
for
politics
example,
doesn't work like that.
Young people, for example, they fear joining politics because of fearing of being attacked or imprisoned or beaten. Now, how are you in the political space? How are you advocating for an environment which can accommodate, as you say, young people should be in decision-making process, they should come and embrace the ideal of democracy and politics in general. how are you going to make the environment more friendly to allow them to come through without the fear of these other factors?
To be honest with you, we need to really clean up our politics. We need to clean up. And for me, even just the way that people fear, amongst the reasons that you've mentioned, let me just add another reason. The issue of losing out on opportunities, okay? I'm a professional myself. But because I engage in politics, I've become unemployable. I have to stick to my consultancy, I have to stick to my businesses, I have to stick to other things. So politics in Zambia is like that. People forget that you're a professional, so they take away your professionalism, they only put your politics there, to the point whereby, I'll give you a sad thing that happened a few years ago. I think that was, is it 2015 or 2016, when they were celebrating my father's 50 years, Edwin Imboela, the one that Edwin Imboela Stadium was named after. They could not even invite me as his daughter because I had engaged in politics, so they thought, or rather, so they said. When people were saying, oh, let's go somewhere, she comes to do this and do this, high people in the police say, okay, the daughter, because I've always been involved with the stadium and a few things, they couldn't invite me. When I heard later on what had happened, I was so disappointed, almost crying. You get the point? I was like, but that was my father, You can't change that about me. That was my father. So they've done that. And sadly, the UPND have continued with that kind of a thing. I'm going to mention that I just attended the match, Nkwazi match over the weekend. And something that I rarely do these days, I went to watch Nkwazi, which is my team. And there were certain things that were said and I was shocked. And I was like, this stadium was named after my father. You get the point? And Nkwazi is my team, so you can't do anything. No, in terms of this, go talk to the minister, the Minister of Sports. I was so shocked with things that started coming out just for me going to watch a football match. So at the end of the day, I want to see certain things change in this country. I've been a lecturer of political science at UNZA myself. At almost all universities, and especially universities abroad, when you're a practitioner, they even start paying you more. Even at UNZA here, when you become somebody who's both a lecturer and in industry, you have that kind of, flair because of your qualification and your experience on the job. Political science, people should know that because I'm a political science lecturer, I'll engage in politics if I want to engage. You get the point? So my engagement in politics should actually make me a better lecturer. But people started setting me up because of that.
Speaking about political science, since you are a scholar of that particular sector, now, the connotation that are around politicians, for example, I think there's certain activities or messages that will give the Zambian people because they want to hear them, but not necessarily embedded in the party plan. Is it true that sometimes politicians would like to exploit people with the words that they want to hear from them, not necessarily what they want to do when they form government?
Well, that is true. That is true. And no wonder people need to really, really be careful. People need to be careful and always hold their politicians accountable. There's a word I like to say that politics is too serious a thing to leave to politicians, because when you leave it to politicians alone, trust me, people keep on crying. But as a person, if I'm going to, let's say, wake up at 05 and go to vote, and the politician promised me free education, when it does not deliver, I should be the first one to come out and say. But in Zambia, also have a problem of not having an issue of common good. People say and criticize and upload things based on their political party affiliation. Today, if somebody from my political party says something, I'll agree with everything they say. If they do something wrong, another person says it, people are going to argue with that. You get the point? So we have to know that the country comes before everybody else. We can belong to different political parties, but after elections, it's one Zambia, one nation. If my party does something wrong, I should be open to get criticism from you. I should be open to get all sorts of things from you, especially if it's a ruling party. Because what the ruling party does impacts on everybody else. But you find that their cadres will be just ready to insult anybody who attacks, unless something actually goes down to them. I saw how, for example, the young people on Facebook got so affected when the betting, they said they're going to be 20% tax on betting. And I have no idea that Zambia is so much engaged in betting like that. Because the same people that are normally saying, no, there's no opposition, keep quiet, us is just bad, but now we're in the inbox. No, please speak for us, This is, we buy our own talk time, our own time, and then they're getting 20%, like, oh, okay. Which opposition do you want to speak for you, which is not there? You get the point. So, yeah. So that's the thing. So we need to have a sense of common good. A right is a right and a wrong is wrong, despite the political party affiliation.
Just from the answer that you're from giving to say, someone telling you that there's no opposition. There's a comment that was passed from one of the senior members of the UPND saying there's no opposition party in Zambia, and the UPND will spend 46 years in power. Do you think that is that can be true?
You know, I've been saying that the arrogance of incumbency has engulfed the UPND just so fast,
Yeah.
you know, because that statement is what the PF used to say. The PF used to say there's no opposition until UPND formed government. They got shocked that UPND formed government. So even now, they can say whatever it is they want. When the time comes, it shall come. And again, it's very, very important to note that most times a party loses power, not so much with what the opposition wants or says, but it's all because of what they're saying and doing themselves. Look at the UPND. I have a strong feeling the UPND will be a one-term party.
Okay.
By
And
2026,
and
the
so
UPND
when you say that,
Yes.
are you the next president of Zambia?
Certainly.
Certainly. Okay, now we'll put you to record because we were here to make sure that you're on record. Now, going straight, you mentioned about your father, Edwin Imboela, was a nobleman to the Zambian service. Now, the question is that how do you uphold the legacy of your father that he left behind as you have joined politics?
Well, upholding the legacy, just people knowing me, I'm upholding it enough because I think I'm the only child that people even know. You get the point. My father had 6 children. I don't think anybody knows anybody else apart from me.
Okay.
So the fact that I've been able to uphold his legacy, I think that is good enough. Just me being in the public and following my path.
Okay.
Because my father was somebody who was known for education and sports. He was the first policeman in the country to have a degree. You know, he was the person that really, he really championed the use of sports in the police service, and he promoted a lot of minor sports apart from football. You know, his legacy is out there to speak for him. No wonder they named the stadium after him. So he was a person who was academic as well as into sports.
Okay.
For me, it's music and academic.
Now going
something,
straight
yeah.
in this, opposition parties are having wrangles within the parties, especially seeing the faction. From the MMD, we go to NDC, which lasted for a long time, and through is your faction legal? Are you the one sitting in the office as a legal president, or is the other team?
By the way, there are not 2 factions in the NDC. There's only one NDC. The others are rebels. Let's give people their rightful terms.
But who is holding office?
No, they're rebels, so we are the rightful owners of the NDC. You know, we are NDC. Those ones are rebels. They were expelled from the party.
Now the question is that who was invited in the party to lead the party?
First and foremost, I think Zambians, we all were there. You know, if we're going to talk about history, no one should even lie to anybody else. We all know that the person behind the NDC was Dr. Jishimba Kambi. We all know that, yes. And he invited people like Mr. Kafumba, invited people like myself and everybody else. Most of us joined the NDC because of our former president, Dr. Kambi. And he appointed us in our positions. You know, so how does a person now, the following day, somebody who appointed you in a position, you wake up and you say, this person is no longer a president, you know? And for me, it's so funny, because the same situation that has happened to us is happening right now in another party, the DP. But with the DP, I've seen that the people that have done the coup d'etat have maintained their positions, you know? But in NDC, the people that did the coup d'etat even now gave themselves the issues of presidency and this and that.
Okay. Now, is the coup d'etat a issue of political mileage, or is just a publicity stance for you and also other politicians, such as Mutati, who has benefited from the faction and today is part of the government?
I mean, the issues of coup d'etats, normally, there's normally a funder. You know, people are paid to do what they do. That's why you find that people are not even convicted with what they're doing or saying. But they're doing it because their pockets are being filled. You know, so it's very, very sad. And for me, I look forward to us as Zambians just bringing in high levels of sanity in our politics. Because as we have seen, this will continue. If we don't bring a stop to this, we should, it will continue. So we should highly criminalize it, you know. We should highly criminalize it. And I have been giving an example again to say that if you look at coup, the actual coups in Africa, they came to an end, or they were highly reduced when the African Union had a certain stance. They just said whoever is involved in a coup, it doesn't matter, no matter how bad your economy is, as long as you're involved in this, if you're illegally if you're a government that comes in illegally, we won't recognize you. And it more or less like stopped. You know, yes, it stopped. So even now, the Zambians should have a position to say parties or people that do this to their political parties, this is what we're going to do.
Speaking about position, as we are winding up, maybe in your remarks, what do the Zambian people expect from NDC moving forward, and what are some of the things that they also would want to, maybe let's say, that you would want to say on this platform to make sure that you encourage them to, I think the whole issue again is about taking part in national affairs, national issues as a country. Maybe your last remarks on these aspects and your words as well.
Oh, certainly. I think I'll repeat myself to say politics is too serious an issue to leave to politicians alone. You know, even if you don't want to be a leader in a political party, join a political party. For me, I never care which party you join as a person. Just join a political party. Be involved in politics. That way, I'm going to really be involved in the governance of this country. And having said that, I would also specifically encourage the women and the young people, because politics, sadly, when there's a struggle to be fought and everything, it's only the women and the youth who are in the forefront. When time comes, that battle has been won, it's the men that sit down and share jobs. And we are seeing it right now, even now with the new government. Mainly it's the men, the women are out there. You know, so the women take up your positions in the parties. The youth take up your positions in the parties. We need to see you being more than voters, but also being leaders in these particular parties, because the youth are more than 80%. The women are about 51%, you know, and yet when you go to parliament, you go to these government positions, it's mainly the men. You know, they say poverty has a female face, and the same women are being told to go pay high amounts of nomination fees to be leaders. The youth worse. So what the women are failing to do for the youth, it's worse, because they don't have money. It's the men that have money. So we are perpetuating this type of poverty amongst the women and the youth if we don't get involved in politics. So they need to get involved so that even their issues are addressed by the government.
We normally don't do this, but we're going to do it. You said taking position, right?
Yes.
So taking position is it with qualification or just taking position in politics? Just as because I know you did make mention, you said that people need to have, people need to be trained. But again, now they're taking position. Are they taking position with papers, or still they can?
No, you know, political party positions, you don't need papers. So people now know who you are, you know, from a political party perspective. So at a political party level, you don't need qualifications. But of course, at the government level, you need qualifications. So by the time you'll be engaging in partisan politics, for example, the way the UPND has won, we hope that they're going to empower their people. For me, I'm not even selfish of that. As an opposition person, I've been very consistent by saying the UPND has to empower its people. A political party is an employer. The same way Life TV is an employer, every bank, whatever, people choose to belong to parties. So when that party fortunately forms government, they should have a plan for their party members and also the country at large. So the people that are there at the UPND, the youth who are there, they should be empowered one way or the other by their political parties.
Madam President, thank you so much for coming through. I don't know if Pastor Derek, you have any insight?
I've gotten the answer.
All right, thank you so much. You have been watching a live special daily talk show. Of course, get to join us next time as we'll be digging deeper into another issue on this platform. Stay tuned and have a pleasant viewing.